Our news team is now gathered in the WABC newsroom. They are making all the calls they possibly can. If you are a WABC news reporter or a stringer, we remind you that the odds are we will not be able to see your calls as they come into the WABC newsroom, so please allow the phone to ring. We are checking them as quickly as we can. Unfortunately, all the lights on the telephone company's phones, which have been installed, and I've tried to explain this in the past, for those of you who are not familiar with it, you never hear the phones ring in the studio. We have flashing lights. On November the 10th, everyone had the same question. Where were you when the lights went out? What will they do on July the 14th, 1977? Only time will tell. The power went out officially 9/29/30, July 13th, 1977. It was caused by lightning and thunderstorms in Westchester, which knocked out the Indian Point plant, which is the main generation system. Also lost major north-south feeder. Didn't have the exact time of the problem. However, we know the following. Ravenswood 3, which is a big generator in the city.
For about another minute on the people phone.
Can we turn him off, please? Jackie?
Okay, if I can just ask you essentially to...
Number 2. I'm sorry. There's no problem. Don't worry. All that happened was that Machine 2 came up by accident. You caught Gus in the middle of it. And knowing Gus Engelman, you're going to hear him saying... blank, blank. So please don't put that on the air. You know, please be cool. Gus, I should tell you, I have a second. Gus Engelman has to be one of the great street men of all time. I mean, I love the way he works because he gets you the story, and that's what it's all about. As you must realize, folks, a lot of people in authority and positions of authority really don't want to talk tonight. They're more concerned with getting the job done. I guarantee you, if anyone can talk and anyone can tell us what happened, Gus Engelman will have that man on WABC. As I was saying, Ravenswood 3, which is a big generator in the city and in Queens, went out. Now, tried to save all of the power from going off. Con Ed cut back 5% voltage reduction. Then quickly tried to cut back 8% in voltage reduction. But it was too late. They then started to shed the load in Westchester. What happened? The massive power blackout. The power went out at 9/29/30 on WABC. I'm George Michael. It is now 12:08. The stories will be many. Let me quickly pass along several reminders for you. Number 1, already there are scattered reports of some power on, that is almost like a brown up, in Brooklyn. However, please do not have your appliances on. Have your appliances off. If your appliances are on, you will have 2 things happen. 1, you will cause the power to be slower in being spread. Number 2, you will probably lose power in that equipment because the power will blow it. It will just be too much of a surge. Let us go now to the man we were just talking about, Gus Engelman, who has gotten so many good reports for us already tonight. Gus, who do we have standing by?
George, I just had a Con Ed spokesman on the phone, Ed Livingston, to see if we can get a better idea of when Con Ed will be restoring that power. Here's Ed Livingston right now.
Ed, is there any progress report? Can you tell us what's going on?
Well, we have all the employees that we've been able to contact are coming in and reporting for work. What we're doing primarily is manning the substations and getting ready for when we do get some startup power and then energize the system again. We're making sure that all the stations are manned, and of course we're asking the cooperation of our customers to see that all of their appliances are turned off so there isn't a big surge of power when we do energize our lines.
Ed, do you have a better idea right now when power will be restored?
We really can't estimate that. We're working as hard as we can and as fast as we can, but I don't want to build up any hopes and pick a number of hours because we just can't be sure right now.
Gus Engelman talking with Ed Livingston. Ed Livingston is the man who first told us of the details of what occurred, and if we might, I'd like to switch back to that first conversation with Ed Livingston that Gus Engelman had, where in essence he told us what happened, how it happened, what made the lights go out in New York tonight.
Ed, what caused this?
We had severe lightning and thunderstorms in Westchester County, and they knocked out Indian Point 3, which is one of the generating stations on the system. And at that time, we also lost a major north-south feeder into the system, which connects us to the north. And shortly thereafter, Gus, I give you these events in sequence. I don't have exact times for them. We lost Ravenswood 3, which is a big generator in the city in Queens. And we tried to save the system by going into a 5% voltage reduction. We went into an 8% voltage reduction, and we started to shed load in Westchester.
And most important, are you people able to determine
this could go into the early hours of the morning?
I'm saying that I can't really guess, Gus, as to what time we'll get the thing back. We've got every available man. I heard on the radio, and I just turned the car around. I was working late till about 8:30, and I was on the way home and turned the car around, didn't even bother to go home, and came back. So everybody who's on the system who can play a role in getting the city back.
Blackout since 1965. The news and weather wire is right here in the WABC newsroom, showing signs of life again after being down since about 9:30 Wednesday night. Good news from East Islip, Long Island. WABC News has received word that the lights have been on in East Islip for the past hour or so. Meanwhile, the Queens Midtown Tunnel and Brooklyn Battery Tunnel are now closed, but the Lincoln and Holland tunnels are open. Traffic is slow, and the ventilation systems are apparently working okay inside the Lincoln and Holland tunnels. The American Red Cross has set up emergency first aid centers at Grand Central Station and Penn Station in New York City. Anyone having special emergency problems for the Red Cross should call this special Red Cross number, 787-1000. That's 787-1000. And those emergency centers are staffed with doctors and nurses at Penn Station and Grand Central. A final note, the Transit Authority tells WABC News that as far as it can tell at the moment, there are no stuck subway trains. There is the possibility of one train being stuck on a bridge, not sure, but no trouble, because if so, the train is out in the open. And of course, no service on the New York City subway system as of now.
Bob, before you go away, and I'm asking you for questions that you may not have the answers to, I must be mindful of the fact that there are people literally listening to us all over the world tonight, not just here in New York on transistors, but there are people who are sitting in the comfort of their home. I know in Oklahoma, Ohio, even in England, a lot of people in Canada who really don't know what all can be involved in the power blackout. Now, you said there were no subways stuck. Do you know if the New York subway system, for example, the IRT, do they have power generators, sub-generators that would keep the cars going?
In a situation like this, once the power goes down, everything stops. And they wouldn't even want the power to be retained in the subway system because during a blackout situation, it's an emergency situation. The train stopped, the tunnel is dark, you've got passengers inside, and so the immediate idea would be to safely evacuate those passengers. Therefore, the power is shut down automatically in a situation like this so as to get those passengers from out of the trains safely and securely.
To the best of our knowledge, then, at this time, all trains have been evacuated. There's a possibility of one being stuck up on a bridge, but that, of course, would not present a problem because people be able to rescue them. The other question I want to ask you, Bob, if, say, for example, now Dan Ingram called in a little while ago as to how it was to get to Oyster Bay, and once he reached Nassau County, there were lights. Obviously, people who have been working late in Manhattan or want to get home to the island will probably be trying to go home. You did say the Midtown Tunnel is...
The Queens Midtown Tunnel and the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel at the present time are shut down, but the Lincoln and Holland tunnels are open. Traffic is reported very slow going through those systems, but the ventilation system is apparently working well, and traffic is flowing through the Lincoln and Holland tunnel.